Yes, it's Raphael Baker reporting for Fighting Pride. I'm just here with English. How you doing, sir?
Excellent.
Legend. Listen, the press conference. What was your take of the press conference? Did you expect the press conference to go the way it did today?
I was very surprised. It was such an excellent press conference. The way in which Junior conducts himself makes me stand tall. You know, he conducts himself with a very good disposition.
Yeah.
He's very sure, and he has every right to be very sure because his work ethic and training is remarkable. As I point out to him, the universe number 1, the gym number 2, and me number 3. The gym, being number 2, is him. Because in the world of boxing, if you don't win, the camera or the lights actually shine on the winner. So the gym is number 2. That makes him relevant in boxing. And I can't see anybody who can touch him.
I mean, Grosz has said he picked him for he wanted to fight him in the semi-finals. Do you think that was a bit of a bravado? Does he really want to face your son in the semi-finals?
No, that's like when a child has done something wrong. I'm not referring to George Groves as a child. I'm using an example of how children are.
Right.
When a child has done something wrong, and you ask them, "Was it you?" This is how they answer. So that is the adult way in which George answered that question today. Or how he made that statement, I should say. That statement didn't make any sense. Junior is by far the most dangerous fighter in boxing. By far. Certainly the most entertaining. He set the World Boxing Super Series on fire in his last performance in Germany against Avni Yildirim. And it's a beautiful thing that we're experiencing. After 5 years of taking all the hits from all those people who wanted to suppress us, we've broken through. And in breaking through, the happiness of which I'm experiencing for enduring the storms and gales of criticism, it's a beautiful thing. I feel buoyant. I feel happy. I feel up. I feel alive. I feel like dancing. Huh? Why? Because I persevered. Junior persevered. He stuck with me. 5 years of criticism. All these mistruths disseminated about us, saying that we are not real. And now, because we stuck to our guns, because we lived with the integrity of which fighters should, he is now the beacon.
Why did you enter the Super Series? Was it for you to prove your critics wrong and just to show how good your son really is?
If you're real in boxing, then you should want to be involved in a competition that unifies titles. That's what I've wanted for Junior, to be in a position where he can unify titles. The World Boxing Super Series gives us just that. If you're not in it, it means you're suspect. A suspect. Why are you not involved? This is the one where the money is. As I say, after this fight, Junior is a multi-millionaire with George. He's a multi-millionaire. That means this is real money. Okay? And, what I've done, I've tried to work with all of the people out there. They said I was difficult. I'm going to be difficult if you're going to try and actually take advantage of my son. I know the game. You did it to me. They did it to me. It's not that I'm difficult. I'm a very easy person to get along with, so long as you're being fair.
Yes.
You know, the deal I did with Camusa and Kelly Sauerland, it was a deal which was closed in 48 hours. Ask.
Right.
Ask. You've heard Kelly in these interviews actually saying, no, well, it was a pretty easy deal. Easy because it was fair. They're not doing fair, the other guys, which is why everyone should be heading towards the World Boxing Super Series.
Just going off the subject, your son takes a lot of criticism for be saying that he ducked Triple G. And do you remember the 48 hours
Yeah.
to sign the contract? Now, other sources are saying that you didn't want the fight, and the public is still holding on to that fact. What really happened?
What really happened is that we got swindled out of that fight. We were told the show was ours, that we owned the show. When we tried to control the show, they said, no. You know, we have a brand, and we have to control it. Well, then I don't own the show. And in fact, Barry Hearn himself said, I said to Barry, if you would have told me we didn't really own the show, I would have been happy. But you told me I owned the show. So we wanted to actually make sure that the numbers were correct. Wasn't allowed to change to check the numbers. Barry then said, well, okay, I'll give you that. You didn't give me anything. Now, all what's been disseminated against us since that time may show us, or it may make us look like we are game players.
Right.
The only proof I can give that we are not game players is that we are in the World Boxing Super Series. And Junior is earning far much more money than Matchroom could ever have got him. Ever.
Would you, say for instance, he does come through and obviously he wins the World Super Series, would you ever work with Matchroom again, Eddie? Because obviously you've got more negotiation power in terms of
No, I don't have to negotiate with them. They would have to negotiate with me.
you,
Let me tell you how boxing works. The reason why Matchroom became the dominant promotional company in the 90s was because of me. The reason why Don King is because of Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson. It's never about the promoter, it's always who has the fighter.
Right.
The fighter is the boss. So, negotiation, I don't have anything to negotiate with them about. The point of fact is the public want to see Junior. And the only way in which the public can see Junior is through a channel, a network. That network, effectively, you can call it pay-per-view. I don't need a promoter to actually help me speak to a broadcaster. I know how to do that. I can speak. Am I not making sound now? I can speak. I don't need them speaking on my behalf. It's never about the promoters. It's always about the fighter. The fighter is the key. And if you don't have the fighter, you have nothing. Nothing. You may have a lot of bills to pay because there are lots of expectations from all the fighters you may look after. But if they are not magic, and if they don't have the magic, then it doesn't matter. Everybody wants the star. And the star in this era now is Junior. And I think it's plain for people to see. And the wonderful thing about his father is that Junior owns himself. He's no slave. He owns himself. He owns himself. Because I will never do anything to compromise him. I've only ever taken bullets for him. I've only shielded him in order not for others to do to him what they did to me. And I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. It's just, it's life. And that's the business of this boxing. I'm grateful for the stories that I now have because of what I've gone through. But my job is to make sure that I shield Junior from living what I experienced. I want him to have all the pink and the flowers, and if he ever starts drinking alcohol, then to have him the magnums of champagne, for him to enjoy a family, his family, to enjoy his work ethic, everything that he's put in, all the risks that he's taken, that it actually comes back to him, not to a promoter. The promoter gives it to their own families. I wanted him to have his for himself and his family. And I have succeeded in doing that. And that's why I am happy. When I say happy, I mean there is like a ball of heat, warm heat. I feel smiley down here and buoyant because the struggle was hard. So you can imagine how sweet this victory is to get him through. So he's not a slave. Didn't want that for him. And I thank my parents, for giving me them prerequisites to hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on, don't give up. And it was tough.
Like I said, my parents came over in the 60s, and it was hard for black people to break through. So when you look at your son, that wasn't in vain. Your son becoming world champion. You installed those values into him. Would you agree?
The values are very important, but you have to adhere to them because there comes a time when the society and the pressures are trying to break you away. They were trying to split us up. They were trying to put a wedge between us, not understanding that my son is me, and I am my son, and that we are a family, and that we are a team, and that I do love him, and that he does love me, and that we have, I was married to his mother, that, he has brothers and a sister. We are a family. I was supposed to do and persevere through all they put me through. I was supposed to stand strong. And having come through it, I can't tell you how happy I am. I can't tell you how.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, I can't tell you how happy. I can't tell you. Just imagine warm air in your stomach and your chest, and warm air in your head, and it's like a bit of laughing gas. That's the one. A bit of laughing gas is in there. Just a little bit. It's just like,
Hits the spot.
yeah, it's just beautiful.
One last thing, I was listening to an interview. I think he did it for ITV on the last show that he did, and basically he said he didn't find out that you were a boxer until he was 10 years old.
Pardon?
You didn't find out that you were a boxer until he was 10 years old.
Around 10 years old.
Yeah, he was telling the story. Went to
Yeah.
his friend's house and he saw a DVD and said, "Hold on, that's my dad." And why was that? Were you trying to obviously just protect him? Why didn't he know that you were a boxer until that point? Because most kids know that the dad's a boxer, especially if you're getting free restaurant meals and everything like that. He said, "Oh, but that's special."
I don't know. I mean, I would have thought. I thought that he knew.
Right.
I just, but then, his mother Karen did a marvelous job bringing them up, and she did what it said in the tin. School, dinner, the house, the household. She was brilliant, and I suppose she maybe kept him closeted away from him.
All right. So
I didn't allow him to come to the gym.
Right.
And I didn't allow them to come to the fights. Neither did I her, because I didn't think it was the right thing for children to. The environment is, especially being, such a polarizing character at the time. I mean, there was so much dislike for me because people were jealous. Effectively, I mean, I was behaving correctly, I was winning, and I was being decent. I was being, humble. But then in my behavior, I suppose, the truck and the cane and the monocle and the dress sense and the cars and all of these things made people think maybe I was arrogant. But I was never arrogant. I was just a guy having fun, living my life.
Being you. Being you.
I was being me.
A lot of people back in the day said, obviously, you were just like pretending to be this person. It wasn't really you. It was a character like WWF. Yeah? I mean, what can you say to those old-time fans now? Was this really the Chris EUBANK? Was this really English?
Let me answer it to you like this. Pretenders cannot live in this particular field of excellence. You cannot be a pretender in this particular field of excellence. You just can't. You have to be real. So wearing tweeds and suits made at Kilgore, French, and Stanbury, and Savile Row, and the cane and all of that. I'd been inspired by film, art, impersonating life. Why not? Why can't I? I can be a Renaissance man. I can learn to speak in such a way where people would say, oh, this guy's not just an ordinary guy. I wanted that respect. And why shouldn't I have it? I applied myself in the boxing field, and that brought money, it brought attention, and I thought, I've got the prerequisites. I understand manners, I understand respect, common sense and application of, I understand dignity and integrity, I understand kindness and being gentle, I understand all of these prerequisites, and so I added all of that, the foundation was that on top of it I had the belt and the media. So how could I go wrong? You can't go wrong if you're small. If you're small, there's nowhere to fall. Because I drive a truck doesn't mean I'm awful. Because I carry a cane, it just means I like fashion. It just means I'm not afraid to take risk of carrying a cane or putting in a monocle or dressing fabulously well. That doesn't make me a bad guy. It doesn't make it should encourage people to, you too can. You can too. Sorry. You can too. Why not? You do what you want to do, so long as you're not breaking the law and so long as you're not being ill-mannered. If I wasn't being ill-mannered, I would do it.
One last thing before you go. What are we going to see, from a father's standpoint, what we're going to see on February?
The 17th?
17th. What sort of performance are we going to see by Chris EUBANK Jr. in the World Super Series semi-finals? Just look down to the camera and just tell the fans.
On this particular night in question, the 17th of February, you are going to see a performance of extremes in style, in relentlessness, in hurt, in attitude, in brutality in the ring. I hope that the referees look after my son and the opponent of my son. That way we can carry on enjoying the sport, what you call a sport. The secret is it isn't to us. It's a way of life to us. We run towards danger, we like pain. If you can hurt us, if you can hurt him, we will congratulate you. And if you beat us, we will bow to you. And when we beat you, okay, strike that. If we beat you, then you too do the same. Bow. And accept triumph and disaster with integrity, with dignity. And that's as much as a sportsman can do. Anything less is not sportsman-like behavior.
Mr. English, it's been a pleasure, my friend.